A Catholic student was suspended from a Catholic high school by Catholic educators for expressing a catechistically accurate Catholic viewpoint on gender. You're not going to believe this story. We're talking to his lawyer today. Friends, I'm going to lead with my chin before I get into this story, although I think regular viewers know this already about me. I'm a cradle Catholic mother raising cradle Catholic kids who attend Catholic schools, including a Catholic high school. So there's my bias, but it's also my expertise. But this story is not really about my religion or any religion. It's about safety, and it's about a kid doing the right thing and then getting punished for it by the very people who are supposed to be doing the right thing by him. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the story. We'll get the details directly from the press release from the Liberty Coalition Canada. And again, gotta lead with my chin here. The lawyer involved is a lawyer on numerous Fight the Fines cases with the registered Canadian charity, the Democracy Fund, including helping my friends, Pastors Tracy and Rodney Fortin at Church in the Vine in Edmonton fight their $80,000 fine from the Alberta government for the crime of turning away health inspectors during church services. Okay. Let's take a look. Liberty Coalition Canada is assisting Josh Alexander, a grade 11 student at St. Joseph's Catholic High School in Ontario. Josh was suspended for 20 days in late 2022 because he has expressed his belief during class debates and on social media that there are only two genders, that students cannot switch between genders, and that male students should not be permitted into the girls' bathroom. Josh has also been told he is not permitted to attend half his classes when he returns to classes. LCC Chief Litigator James Kitchen, who is representing Josh, has initiated an appeal of Josh's suspension to the Renfrew County Catholic District School Board, of which St. Joseph's is a part of. Josh not only has a right to express himself during class discussions and through public forums, he also has a right to not be discriminated against by his school for his sincere religious beliefs. Being suspended and excluded from classes is the height of discrimination. Okay, so let's summarize. Josh expressed his viewpoint in class and on social media, but he also organized a walkout in November to protest allowing boys into the girls' washrooms. Now, if Josh had staged a climate walkout or a Black Lives Matter walkout, what are the chances that he would still be suspended today? 0, right? So that's the story, but here's the problem. Josh did exactly what his faith calls him to do. Now, that's one thing for him to do it in the secular world. Absolutely. I believe in religious freedom. And I also believe in the right of free people to express their sincerely held religious views in the public square or wherever. But Josh did it at a Catholic school. I think beyond church, this is the next safest place to be a Catholic student with Catholic student views. But don't take my word for it as a practicing Catholic. Let's find out what the Canadian Council of Catholic Bishops has to say about the whole concept of gender ideology. CCB Statement on the passage of Bill C-16 regarding gender identity and gender expression. The Catholic Church sees all people, regardless of how they identify themselves or the manner in which they choose to live their lives, as possessing equally an inherent dignity bestowed on them by God our Creator. For this reason, unjust discrimination or violence against a person or community or class of persons is always morally wrong. From the moment of conception onward, every human being has the innate dignity of bearing the image of God. All persons, including those who identify as, quote, transgender, must always be treated with compassion, respect, and love. While the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops supports Bill C-16's intention to protect Canadians from harm, some of the principles behind the legislation, even if widely accepted in our society, cannot be endorsed by Catholics. The most serious of these is the claim that gender is separable from biological sexuality and is to be determined by the individual. This central tenet of contemporary gender theory is not in accord with natural law or Christian revelation and has therefore been explicitly rejected by Pope Francis and by Pope Benedict XVI. According to Genesis, we are created male and female in the image of God. Each of us, man or woman, is challenged to fulfill our human vocation in a way that is individually unique, yet true to what we have been created to be. In the words of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, 2332 and 2333, each man and woman should acknowledge and accept his or her biological sexual identity, including physical, moral, and spiritual differences and complementarity, which affects all aspects of the human person in the unity of his body and soul. This identity especially concerns affectivity, the capacity to love and procreate, and a more general way, the aptitude for forming bonds of communion with others. Okay, so now that we know Josh's viewpoint lines up with Catholic teachings, and I know as Catholics we're called to be bold in our faith, intolerant of sin, and speak truth to power, even if the powerful sinners are in our own institutions. Why is Josh still suspended? Josh is a minor with legal representation engaged in active litigation against the school. So I'm not going to talk to Josh, but I am going to talk to his lawyer, James Kitchen from the Liberty Coalition Canada. This is an interview we recorded yesterday morning.
This is a 16-year-old kid who goes to a public Catholic high school. And unlike most kids, he's not quiet about what he sees as something very wrong with boys entering girls' washrooms, being allowed to. And, he came right out with his beliefs and said, look, I think there's only two genders and I don't think you can switch between them or be something else. I just don't think that's how it is. The Bible says otherwise, biology says otherwise, and that's my opinion. And I don't think boys, no matter how much they think they're girls, should be going into the girls' washrooms. I don't think it's safe. I've had some girls tell me that, and that's not a good idea. And he said the vast majority of that during class debates. But of course, you can't say that these days, right? And if you do, it doesn't matter where you are, but of course, especially in a woke high school, you're going to be in trouble. Not only will the students, of course, be very mad at you, but the teachers will. And in this case, the principal and the school board are very mad. And ultimately it led to him being suspended in November because, he just kept saying these things that I just told you he said in class debates and on social media, of course. And that really makes people angry nowadays when you start talking on social media. So the school suspended him. And, after that suspension was served, the school then said, well, look, you can go back to school, but you cannot attend half your classes because half those classes have transgender students in those classes that have heard your comments and don't like what you have to say, and they feel unsafe with you being in the class, so you're not allowed in that class. And that's a whole other step too far, right? So Josh and I got talking over Christmas. He hired me as his lawyer. Obviously, Liberty Coalition Canada is paying for it. I'm doing this as chief litigator with Liberty Coalition Canada. But we talked over the break and we decided, look, we have to challenge this condition. This is exclusion. We talk about discrimination. It doesn't get any more to saying you're not allowed in here because of what you believe, which is what that's saying. And so we challenged that. We asked the school board to rescind it. Like we asked the principal, look, just acknowledge that this is an unlawful discriminatory condition. Let Josh go to his classes. He can come back to school. Principal said no. And I said, well, Josh is not going to follow a discriminatory order. It's unlawful. He's not going to obey you on everything you say when it's unlawful. He's going to go to those classes. And when I told the principal that Josh is going to go to his classes, the principal's response is, well, now he's not allowed at the school at all. So, here's what they call an exclusion notice. So gave us an exclusion notice. Josh went to school anyways. That's the kind of guy he is. He said, look, I have a right to an education. You should be able to go to school. I'm not going to put up with this. He went to school. He went to those classes that he wasn't allowed to go to because the transgender kids are in it. And vice principal followed him in and all that. And then he went to those classes, came home. After he came home, we got another suspension notice. And we got a trespass notice as well, saying he can't even. Yeah, I know, trespass notice as well. So at that point, Josh and I talked. We thought, okay, fine. We won't go to school for the rest of the week, but we try to sort this out. I've heard. I can't verify it personally, but I've heard from people who saw at the school and told Josh that there were police waiting for him at the school on Tuesday morning to enforce that trespass notice if he showed up.
He's grade 11. Sorry to interrupt, but this kid is in grade 11. You send the cops after a grade 11er for trying to go to school. Yeah. I know it really is. It's a sledgehammer to go after a fly. It's extreme escalation. And as much as Josh was standing his ground, I was trying to come at this with the school board of, let's talk about this. Let's sort this out. You got issues. That's fine. In the meantime, he needs to be able to go to class, and you got to stop the blatant discrimination.
It's not like this is even questionably unlawful. You're not letting a kid go to his class because of his religious beliefs, because he's expressed those religious beliefs, as unpopular as they are. That's the height of discrimination. Let him go to class, and we'll talk about the issues.
It's very difficult for me to get my head around this as a Catholic, because the things that Josh is saying are in line with Catholic teaching, the teaching of the diocese. And he goes to a high school called St. Joseph's High School. St. Joseph is the patriarch of the family, the carer of the family, the man who cared for Mary and the infant Jesus. And he's trying to walk a little bit in the footsteps of the person that the school is named after by trying to look out for the girls at the school. And he's being discriminated against by a Catholic school.
On the basis of his Catholic beliefs.
Thank you. You just finished the loop for me. I'm nothing he is saying here is incompatible with Catholic teaching. In fact, it's completely in line with Catholic teaching. And the Catholic teachers at this school, the ones who are saying we're going to take a pastoral approach with the kids on the other side, while basically criminalizing a kid for holding Catholic values and be willing to stand up for Catholic values. This is absolutely outrageous. What are the next steps for this kid?
He's got two suspensions now. He's appealing those. There is a process. You appeal those to the school board trustees, which of course is interesting in this case, right? Because they are Catholic or supposedly Catholic school board trustees, right? Who were supposedly, elected by Catholics in this area who care about the Catholic school. So interesting, right? Because I mean, if they're actually doing their job, not just pursuant to being trustees, but actually Catholic trustees, then they're going to look at this and say, well, wait a minute. This guy's a Protestant, he's not a Catholic, but everything he's just said is Catholic doctrine, and he's been punished for it. And he doesn't have less rights than the transgender kids. So why was he suspended? I mean, that would be the obvious question they would be asking if they were actually doing their jobs as Catholic school board trustees, right? Not just public school board trustees. That's what's supposed to happen, is we're supposed to go to this appeal. So we'll see where that goes. In the meantime, of course, there's the other side of it is he going to end up in classes? Because right now he's excluded and he's got a trespass notice. And until the school rescinds those, he can't go back to class. But of course, I mean, that in and of itself is unlawful and it's discriminatory. And I mean, it's certainly grounds for a human rights complaint, which is something we're going to do. But those things don't happen overnight. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how far they want to take this, how long they want to keep him out of school, because they're just adding up to the discrimination. So I'd love to see them calm down a little bit and us actually, speak like adults and get him back into school and to sort out all these issues. But they seem to really want to go hard on this.
I'm a Catholic parent who sends my kids to Catholic school, and I hope that part of their Catholic education is making them resilient to the pressures of the world, that they're part of this 2,000-year-old church where our values don't change as the world changes around us, because your values aren't supposed to change based on the social pressures of the day. This kid's doing exactly that. And he's getting the social pressure from the Catholic school that is supposed to teach him about this 2,000-year-old unchanging religion. It's incomprehensible.
I'm glad it's come to the light, because I think, well, you're not the only person I've gotten surprised. See, I'm not surprised. I'm aware of how woke the public Catholic school boards are. I've dealt with it legally, right? So, but I think it's good that people are seeing this, because apparently most people aren't seeing it, but this is the reality, right? I mean, I can't speak obviously for all the teachers or all the students or all the parents, but certainly the administrators, the vast majority of them, this is where they're at, right? They are on the woke side of things.
Well, and also this kid is seeing what happens when you speak up and say, hey, actually, this is incompatible with religious teaching, and that's why I come here. There are probably a lot of good administrators and teachers who don't have the courage of this young man and are willing to let him fight this alone.
Well, think about all the girls too, right? Like in this scenario, right? There are girls that feel his way. They came to him. They expressed their concerns to him, as they knew they could trust him, but they're too scared, right, to speak out about it, right? Because, well, who knows? Maybe if they speak out against some trans kid, and they go into the bathroom and they're alone, like that's what they're thinking, right? I mean, I've heard the stories of how they hold their pee until they have to go home. I mean, I want to talk about like female discrimination, which we used to get really upset about in our society. I mean, that's it right there, right? I mean, think about all the girls all across the country in both public and Catholic school boards that are thinking, man, I'm glad this is finally getting the attention it needs, because I mean, I wish I could speak up, but it's pretty scary for me. I can't. And I hope they do. Honestly, if I could say anything to all the girls listening about this in high school, like, please, get together and speak up on this, because we need your voice. And I know obviously some girls agree with this, they support it. Some of them are even the ones transitioning. I get that, but the ones that don't, because obviously there's a large number that don't, and then they are legitimately concerned about themselves. They need to speak up, and I certainly encourage them to.
Yeah, there's got to be a different way forward. And it feels as though the school just completely decided what we're going to do here is we are going to criminalize Catholic chivalry. And there was no attempt to balance the rights of everybody at the exact same time.
That's just it, right? I mean, okay, so we have transgenderism protected in the Human Rights Code. Maybe we shouldn't, but whatever, we do. And okay, so there's got to be some accommodation and avoidance of discrimination. Fine, right? But religious beliefs are also protected. Sex, if you're a girl, these things are also protected in the Human Rights Code. So we have to have a balance. We don't have that, right? Because we've politically and socially prioritized LGBT people, right? So they get whatever they want. And if somebody else is in conflict with that, they don't get it. Well, that's not right. It's not fair. It's not what the law is supposed to be. That's not what it's there for. And if we brought the balance back, we wouldn't have all these crazy conflicts, right? If we could just work it out. Okay, you can have your transgenderism thing, but I'm still going to have my beliefs, and I'm going to be allowed to have my beliefs. And I'm also going to have the safety to go to a bathroom without somebody with a penis coming in, that doesn't belong in here, because this is a place where there's no penises. Like, we should be able to do that, but we can't have an adult conversation anymore, because it's all about the ideology and the wokeness and the tyranny and the control and the censorship. And that's how we get this bizarre situation.
So what kind of timeline is this kid looking at? Because we're ticking away at grade 11. He screws up grade 11, then that screws up grade 12, and he doesn't get into the school he wants to get into. And I'm willing to bet he's actually a pretty good student, because the moral and ethical kids like this, they take that into their practice of their school and church and stuff. So I'm willing to bet he's a good citizen and a good student. What's his timeline like here? When do we get to see a resolution here?
Well, the reality is he's probably going to lose this semester, right? I mean, it ends at the end of the month, and he's going to have his exams. And he had the suspension in November, so he missed a bunch then, and now he's missing a bunch. So the reality is he's probably going to lose this term or this semester. He was aware of that, right? This is the kind of kid that's willing to make sacrifices, and his parents are on board with that, so he was aware of that. He'll have to figure that out, right? I mean, he used to do some homeschooling. He may go back to that. Who knows? Maybe I don't know how it works these days, if you can get stuff outside of the actual school system to get your GED or grade 12. I don't know, but he's considered those options because he knew that it could go this far. He knew that this is how far the school board could take it. But it's certainly disruptive, right? I mean, it's like you said, you got to try to get certain things by a certain time if you're going to go off to college or whatever. So it's an added burden and hardship for him to try to figure out while he's trying to stand up for rights and beliefs. So we'll see.
Now, you're not doing this for free. You're part of the Liberty Coalition. So how do people support the Liberty Coalition as you take on cases like these?
Yeah, so they can donate. There's a link on the webpage, and we have what we call the Liberty Defense Fund. And people who donate to that, that goes towards paying the legal fees for me to be able to run this case and other cases. And what's great is that people have donated. So when these types of cases come in, I can just jump in. Like, we had that conversation over Christmas, and it was like, yep, we can do this. We're geared up for this. And here we are. Him and his parents don't have the money, obviously, and they don't have to worry about the stress of trying to pay me. And so this is great. And I encourage people to donate. This is how you level the playing field with all these government bodies and powerful institutions that have, limitless pockets and can hire this school board's hired a big law firm in Ottawa. I'm sure they're charging 3 times an hour as I am. This is how you level the playing field, right? Is you have this third party crowd-funded litigation where the society gets together, and they donate towards something, and then all the money is there for these cases to happen. This is how you defend the rights and freedoms of regular people who can't hire lawyers and go to bat with these well-funded people. So this is great, and I encourage people to, if they support this, to donate it towards it.
Yeah, because it just might be my kid or somebody else's kid one day, and you got to make sure that the help is there. And it also empowers other kids to stand up and other parents to stand up. If they know that this one kid did it and help was there, it encourages other people to say, you know what? Yeah, me too.
That's how it works. That's how it works. So yeah, no, that's why I encourage people that you got to speak up. You got to stop self-censoring, or else we're never going to get out of this mess of tyranny. I mean, thank God for guys like Peterson, right, who already have this platform, right, and they say, no, I'm not going to stop talking, because as soon as I do that, it's just all downhill from there. So yeah, no, this is great. I'm really proud of this kid, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
So this young man is not just moral and willing to say and do the tough things to expose those in authority around him who are acting like Pharisees and walk directly into the consequences, but his stance aligns with Catholic teaching. As a Catholic parent, that's the kind of kid you hope to raise. Someone who knows right from wrong and is unafraid to say it to whomever needs to hear it. Someone who is compassionate to the sinner, but intolerant of the sin and resilient to social pressures. And that's why Catholic parents, or at least the small O Orthodox ones like me, send their kids to Catholic schools. For two reasons, really: to make sure our kids aren't exposed to the woke anti-Christian agenda infecting public schools, but also to have the values of our home and church reinforced at school so that they're ready to live in the secular world. And I guess if you don't care about those things, there's always secular education, but there's a difference, or there should be, between the two. And to these woke educators, let me just say, if you want to teach in a Catholic school, you need to uphold Catholic values, or you could just get a job in the secular system, unless being a Catholic educator is not really what you want to do. Maybe you just would rather tear the system down from the inside, which I think might actually be the goal here. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. I think I'm going to hit these woke Catholic educators with an access to information request so I can see what they were plotting to do against Josh Alexander behind closed doors. I want all of their communications, but it's going to be expensive and it's going to be time consuming. If you'd like to support my access to information investigation efforts, please consider making a donation at rebelinvestigates.com. And thanks in advance to everybody who makes this important work possible.